All right, welcome to part three. Welcome to part three of this second monster map. All right, so I'm going to start toning this piece in with our grayscale types of treatments here. And this, for me, the thing that I really love doing on all these pieces is adding in the finishing touches, but I would have to say that on these big, huge pieces with so much stuff going on. Hello, Cave. It's been a while. This is really fun to do here too, because I can kind of start to see on a smaller piece. I can kind of tell what's going on. You know what I mean, in terms of lighting and everything like that. We're working on it. You know what I mean? A 4¼ by 5½ piece. You know, there's limitations in terms of just the general area, but on something like this, I can kind of conceive of the lighting, general lighting type of scheme and how it's going to be, but there's just so much space here. It's I don't know. There's a lot of area to consider, and actualizing it and watching it develop is really fun, or just getting to it and taking care of some things that I didn't know if it would be an issue or not, and you add the tone in there, and then it just kind of eradicates those areas. Specifically, it's things like, if certain areas get a little bit too busy, then you just kind of add some tone in there and it subdues those types of things like that. Hello, Froggy Fresh. Marta, how are you today? Hope everyone's doing well. We're going to start toning in this scene. We're going to have our light source right here, okay? And I want some of my clouds to be reflecting some of that light. And we have our general pathway here. It's going to be like this and kind of going out this way in this direction. But then we also have this area going up here. So it's like I don't know, it's like the crossroads or something like that in this piece. We have our little subject matters here to the left and right. And we want to kind of illuminate those types of things like that with kind of spotlighting. But in areas like this, where I want this, I'm going to be doing these little, kind of sinister little glowing eyes on, or different little creatures like that. I do want these things to kind of be a little bit more obscured in darkness. That's just the general thought of it, okay? Now, on things like these fences right here, I need to be careful not to take that too dark, otherwise we'll lose kind of the nice silhouette of them in there, but we do want to get some tone placed down just about everywhere. So that's the general idea in there, okay? Let's see. Have you been sniffing the ink again? Hello, Sam Hawkins. Good to see ya. Jeannie. Long time no see, everyone. If you're just joined in on this one, I'm just joking around. We were just on for I don't know what it was, a little over half an hour ago. Okay, so in that segment, what I did was I finished off all of the main imagery that we're going to be adding in here. Okay, and what day is today? Is today Monday or Tuesday? I don't even know. It's Monday. Okay. Someone just pulled up outside, I heard. I thought, uh-oh, I think the gardeners might be here. It's going to get loud with weed whackers and stuff. Okay, Memento, London Fog, re-inkers. Going with a re-inker on something like this, I don't know if it's a necessity or something like that, but it certainly makes it a lot easier. I do this in my quarter-page pieces, cards. So when it comes to something like this size, doing this is going to save us like a world of time here. So let's see. All right, so let's get into this. All right. One of the things you could do, I don't know, there's different types of approaches. You can kind of tone in the things that where it's going to be, fairly dark, and just start off with those areas like that. You can start off with your, if you're doing kind of a vignette type of approach, with perimeter shading. You can kind of shade around all on the perimeter like that too, whatnot. All right. Now, we don't need to get too caught up, I don't, with kind of specifics. I reference my moonlight, okay? Not so much. I mean, I guess I do a little bit, but I'm not worried about it though too much. I'm really thinking about more like, oh, I don't know, just general shapes and things like that. Where it's darker in the designs, I'm kind of reiterating that with tone, okay? When I'm going into this first base layer coat of color, okay? So where I kind of toned in already with all those shapes, I'm just going in there, okay? I know that those areas, I wanted those areas to be darker, so I'm just going in and reiterating that darkness like that, okay? You don't have to fully realize every little section like that too. Good to see you in Maine, Marta, on Eastern. Welcome to anyone on the Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, I'm jumping on a little bit earlier these days, Marta, with some of these pieces. Like this one right here, it's just so big, you know. Although stamping at midnight for a Halloween scene would not be a bad idea from a thematic standpoint, from a practical standpoint, not so good for people. Okay, but here's what I'm talking about. I see this moonlight right here. I mean, I can reference that a little bit. You know, I could say, you know, these Easter Island types of figures, they're probably going to be casting a little bit of a shadow like that. But I would add a bit of a shadow at the base of kind of larger objects anyway. Okay, so. All right, here's that perimeter type of vignette I was mentioning earlier. Okay, now up here, these clouds are stamped in the dye-based ink. I was mentioning earlier, someone asked me if, you know, why you're going with the StazOn as opposed to the dye-based inks on certain types of images. I said, well, I just don't want to have to worry about any type of smearing at all. So I went with the StazOn. But I'm finding these clouds aren't really smearing. It's, you know, 45 minutes was long enough for them to set up and dry completely. And this is on the semi-gloss paper, so it's a little bit closer to matte, okay? So I don't see any type of removal of that dye-based black in there. Just almost everything else is stamped out in the StazOn here. And the StazOn, you know, when you come in there with alcohol inks, you know, if you'd hit it real early on. But one of the things I found a little bit, you know, I haven't tested this or anything, but it seemed like I didn't really have problem with the StazOn smearing with alcohol ink pen work after I allowed the StazOn to really set up and dry. It was like overnight or something like that. So it wasn't really a problem. Yeah, Linda's stamping right now. I forgot where she said she was in that process right here, but you can see, you can see that kind of the shadow work kind of coming about like this. Now, one of the things I've mentioned a lot in my videos when we start toning in like this is, I mean, this one's a little bit different because it's supposed to look like a map or something like that, but you want to kind of checkerboard your things to make a nice varied surface in terms of values, okay? So it's going from light, dark, light, and then we can make something dark behind there, you know. But see this kind of oscillation of light and dark vertically, but also horizontally, you know. It's like dark, light, dark, light, dark. Those types of things. If you do that type of thing, it's, you know, you can think about it like checkerboarding your piece. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, I mean, it could go, there could be a large area of white, dark, you know, lightness, or in a small area, you know what I mean? Things don't have to be like uniform or something like that. But if you just vary it, just potentially, you know, it creates a more varied surface and therefore a richer surface, okay? But there's always going to be exceptions. You know, you might go with something where it's everything's like super dark, and then there's one little spotlit area, you know, that you want to, you know, draw the viewer's attention to, or something like that. But when it comes to something this large, you know, inevitably you're going to get a lot of opportunities for that oscillation of light and dark across the page, okay? Just because there's so much space. So it's something to, you know, kind of consider a little bit. All right, here's our trees like this. I know those are going to be just, you know, pretty dark, so I'm just toning in like that. I had to re-ink this. When you re-ink and there's just a ton of ink on here, just kind of use a little bit of a lighter touch, okay? As you apply it, so you don't get like some kind of gigantic slathering of it, you know, if, you know, that's not what you want in that area. Okay, now here's what I'm normally doing. See, I normally would leave this really light against this silhouette right here, but this is supposed to be like a spookier type of scenario, so I'm going to have this kind of silhouette, this darker silhouette of these deers in the darkness like that, okay? All right. Coming across, here's this row of little rocks down here, so just toning those in like that. Leaving this little area in here for this figure to be a little bit kind of spotlit and illuminated in the moonlight, like this. So thinking about this figure and whole scenario like it's a stage, you know, you can have like, you know, different little spotlights spotlighting our different little kind of little subject matter in the scene. Here's this little creature in the water like that. I'll leave that area largely illuminated. Okay. Now see this darker area coming down the road like that. Darker area right here. Perimeter and center like that. I'll just kind of come in like this and darken that in a little bit like that. Okay. I want these columns to be shaded as well, so maybe I'll do it like this. Easiest masking in the world. Okay, so the moonlight's coming from that side. Now, these columns will probably be just darkened in, you know. I mean, they're supposed to be rounded. So you can do something like this and leave like one side, like it's capturing a little bit of that moonlight, you know, so maybe I'll do a little bit of that treatment like that. On this one right here, it's almost directly under the moon, so I mean, this one, I could have a little bit of this side illuminated. Maybe I'll do that. We can go like this and just come up like this. But see how good this is working like this? I mean, I haven't re-inked this. I mean, this is a really big piece, and I still have a lot of ink on it, and it's just the second re-inking that I've done here, so it just really goes a long way, and you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, that London fog, I thought I've used that. The London fog directly out of my pad is more neutral. This one has that blue in it, or, you know, for some reason. I don't know, my pad is definitely neutral. It's a neutral gray, so I don't know. This, to me, when I first started using this one, I had wondered if they accidentally added in like summer sky or something like that into this London fog re-inker. I don't know. I didn't think they would do that, but I don't know. I definitely had wondered about that. I almost don't want this temperature in this color right here. But, you know, by the time I went through the Marvy gray over the top of it, my previous one, it kind of neutralized it. I didn't really see too much of this cool tone anymore. So, and then, you know, the black colored pencil and the black Marvy ink. Oh yeah, I'm gonna probably break out the VersaFine Clair on here too. All right, so here's the thing right here in the background, right here on these hills. You see what I mean? I want it to be illuminated by the light, but if I don't tone it in at all, then it'll look the same as up here. And then these clouds around the moon, if I don't tone those in, the moon won't look as bright. So there's always that little balance, you know, you can kind of tone it in a little bit. And you can just, you know, you can keep toning it in more and more. And by contrast, that moon will seem lighter and lighter. But I don't want it just stark white like that, so I want a little bit of tone going across there, so I'm going to kind of mute it out. It gives it a little bit more of a moodier type of feel, adding those tones like that. A lot of people will add in a warm tone to their moon. But if you do that, go with something very light. Don't put like a, you know, warm tone yellow or something like that. That's going to be lighter than some like reflected area. So try to keep that kind of a real muted warmth so that it still represents the source of light and not something darker where the, you know, the reflected light from that thing would be brighter than, you know, the source. Okay, that's my general kind of take on that. I have seen it where it's, you know, like a yellow moon or something like that, and so, you know, and it's worked, but it's usually easier of kind of a lighting statement by having your light source as the lightest thing in there, or equal to, you know, some of the reflected light. So that's what I mean, this all represents, you know, here's a light source right here, and these are all the things that are, you know, kind of reflecting the light that's, you know, shining from those sources like that. Okay, so that being said, let's go a little bit darker around. Okay, I think I can get more mileage out of this London fog still before we go to our Marvy gray. You use whatever grays you have, whatever, mix and match, you know. Your colors, if you're layering dye-based inks, just make sure that you're, you know, you're layering similar inks. Don't go with a, you know, Memento London fog and then, you know, go to like a gray StazOn or something like that. You know, it's just, you know, there are different types of inks that are going to react differently. You guys all know that, I know, but you know, people that are new to stamping, you know, I mean, it gets a little bit confusing that, you know, with the pigments, oxides, solvent inks, you know, alcohol inks. They're just, you know, so many things to consider, much less, you know, the colors that they're using. So, but I get those questions all the time from people. I'll get questions like, you know, can you do some scenes using Stampscapes with, you know, they might have like all oxides or something like that, and no dye-based inks, no solvent, you know what I mean? Only oxides or something like that. And you know, you can do whatever you want, but it's, you know, but sometimes they're not asking so much that, they're asking, can they use the oxide and get the same results as dye-based inks on, you know, like a glossy cardstock look or something like that. It was a lot easier to kind of explain the entire inking process back when we were only using Marvy pens and Tombos. But thank goodness there's all those different types of inks out there these days, right? For us. Now the only problem is kind of just, you know, kind of keeping up with all the different inks that are still kind of in production and not discontinued or put out by, you know, companies that are just aren't around any longer. You know, i.e. Clear Snap or something like that. All right, so anyways, that's going on like that. I still have this little blank area in there. We really need to fill that in, don't we? Okay, and a little bit more perimeter oriented too. Let's go in here like this. You really utilize your drier incarnation of your applicator, whatever you happen to be using. Okay. I'm going to go in around this moon a little bit more to kind of, maybe draw a little bit more attention to it as far as a light source. So darkening in the area around it, like that. This is where I'm doing my little kind of tweaks to the piece. So this is how I've broken this up right here. This is a big open area, so you can go light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, like that. Okay. So when I say checkerboarding, it doesn't have to be like a little square or something like that. And see, even through here, I'm kind of oscillating those, those little stones, those little walkways like that. I do want this to be somewhat illuminated, though, so it draws the viewer's eye and like something like that. So anytime you're doing these visual lead-ins in areas like that, you generally want to leave them lighter than the, surrounding areas, so that it does draw the viewer's eye inward like that into whatever direction you're kind of wanting to lead them. All right, so let's see. I think we're ready for our next tone. That didn't, that wasn't too bad in terms of time as far as the base layer coat. And again, it comes together so fast when you're doing this. And instead of, I would have had to ink this up probably 50 times instead of just, what was it? Was it 3 times with the re-inker fluid on there and just using that like a little brush like that? So it just goes so much further when doing it like that. You can put it on a kitchen sponge or anything like that. Whatever applicators you guys are using these days. If you have like a rag, like an old t-shirt or something like that, a cotton one, I've often thought that is probably would be the ultimate applicator, because it's soft and it's absorbent, And largely, I mean, like an older t-shirt wouldn't have too much texture on it, so. All right, let's see. Oh, let's see, the blue picks up on your photos, huh, Candy? Yeah, that cool tone. Well, this looks like, I mean, that really looks like almost like summer sky to me. The light colored memento blue. In fact, when I do add that memento blue and it's kind of mixing a little bit and smearing some of my freshly stamped black images, it looks really similar to that. So, Crazy Cat stamped their first Stampscapes scene today. Wow, awesome. This week I'll work on shading it. That will take some practice, I'm sure. Well, it just depends, I mean, it can go like really fast too. It depends how you're going to shade it. If you're working on a quarter page type of card or something like that, my shading is just dark on the perimeter and somewhere in the middle it's darkened in. It's in my, if you look up Stampscapes easy lighting on here on YouTube, it's just on most of my scenes, I just, here's a quarter page card like this, and there's usually kind of light up there and light down here, and it's just kind of darkened in like this. Darker on the perimeters and a little bit lighter in like this, where you're dragging it in like that, like this. But that's it, Sometimes this is smaller, like a little moon or something like that. and this could be a larger area. Sometimes it's reversed. It's like a little snowman or an 8 or something like that, but it goes dark, light, dark, light, dark like that. And across layer, it's like dark, light, dark, you know, and that's your quarter page. You can use that type of lighting scheme on, I don't know, I've speculated like 95% of the scenes that, you know, of mine are some version of that, unless the moon's kind of over here and the illuminated is like say down here, then it's just like light, dark, light like that, you know. It's just kind of those areas of darkness just kind of move like that, you know. And then sometimes if there's just too much space down here, like, see, this is an illuminated area like this. This is light, darker, you know, in here, and then light down here. But see, I've broken it up because it's just too much light like that. So I just break up these areas of light. But that's the basic convention for that. And I mean, that's, you know, I don't know. You can, like I said, you can use that on, you know, I mean, you could use it on 100% of your scenes, especially if it's a quarter page or something like that, but that's all I'm doing. You like this picture, Froggy Fresh? There's a frog in there for you right there. It's the Leaping Frog by Visions of Ink. He's like jumping in there, you know, to, I don't know, scare his buddy. Okay, so, oh, here. I found my re-inker for my gray. Okay, if anyone knows or if you're aware, Marvy pads are no longer being, Marvy dedicated pads stopped being made, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's been longer than that. Like in these dedicated pads. Then they started selling blank pads, because they had all their re-inkers for all their pads, okay? But then they stopped selling these dedicated pads. But they still have their re-inkers for sale. But the re-inkers, when they're sold out, they're going to be gone for good. And I'd imagine they still have a lot of them, okay? Because the Marvy pads, they retain their ink for a really long time. The only ones that I was really inking up a lot were my lightest of colors that I was using the most as my base layer colors. Oh, and blacks, so, but the different colors, I'd imagine, they probably have a lot of them in inventory, but they have announced that, you know, when they're gone, they're gone. I think it says something like on their website, while supplies last, or something like that. All right. Yeah, this is adding more of kind of a neutral gray, right, to the piece. You can see where I've used the Marvy in here. And I'm just kind of going in here and, you know, I'm adding it roughly in the areas that I've used the previous color, okay? So you just kind of, you don't have to kind of change course, you know, the darker you go with something like this. This is like, in terms of like monochromatic coloring like this, all right? And this one specifically is grayscale, so, you know, if these areas are, if this is blue sky up here and this area in here is green grass and this here is like dirt, you know, brown road, then, you know, it's a little bit different than that. But, you know, you start off with your base layer coats like that in each zone, work it from, you know, light to dark, you know, light greens for your green grasses and light blues for your, you know, sky areas up there. But it's still the same, you know, lighting kind of strategies and whatnot. You're just working in different hue, okay? So don't see it as like a completely different, you know, process, you know, by adding in more colors or something like that. All right, it's coming around like that. Okay, and after this one, we'll already be on the black tone, okay? Which I'll use, I'm using a little bit more sparingly because I'm also going to be using a black Prismacolor pencil, so it makes it really easy for that. Let's see, Debbie, you were commenting but didn't see any other comments, huh? They're ghost comments, maybe. I can't do fog mist over cover up. What does that mean there? Is your fog and misting game not developed yet, Candy? Don't use too much fog or mist cover up over dark areas. It stands out too much. Use it in the lighter areas. I mean, you can use it, in some areas, but you have to kind of put it a lot, or in other areas. Otherwise, it's going to stand out really as a different kind of. I don't know. It's going to look like a different texture. You have to use it kind of universally. Um, let's see. I love that paper. What was the original size? The original size of this one's 10 by 16. I just cut off an inch off of both sides off the tabloid size so that I can mat this on something afterwards, just on another piece of paper, the same kind. Otherwise, I'm just not going to have anything else to place this on. So I'm trying to remember to do that these days on full page cards and something like this. Give it some space so I can, mat it on another just piece of white paper. All right, so toning in. Okay, so I was looking through my, I have all these like in a little box top or something like that. And I was looking for my gray, and it was literally like the last one that I looked through. I was like looking for that gray, all these other ones, and it was like the last one. Isn't that always the case? All right, so here's the gray again, and adding it in. I don't know, you don't see like, when you're doing this kind of incremental type of addition of tone where you're just incrementally darkening it in it. It's not like, oh my God, there's like a huge change or anything like that. It's really small. The changes are small. And that, again, it's to make things nice and user-friendly in terms of the toning process if you don't add it in so fast. Now, I mean, you can do, faster types of processes, but it's just going to be a little bit more precarious, where it requires a little bit of additional touch, just like a, calligrapher or something like that, You have to be a little bit more practiced and kind of, like confident and, really assured with those, movements, because, what you see is what you get. But I'm just kind of making things a little bit darker incrementally like that, okay? So I'm getting my glare here. This is what this looks like that, okay? We can go darker in the the corners like this. 4 corner types of applications. Those will be nice and dark. See, I would never do that right there, but I want that creature to be kind of looking a little bit ominous, and not like majestic or cute or whatever that I'm normally going for with that type of image like that. Oh, Debbie, you clicked your finger and everyone was gone, and then you snapped your finger again, and everyone was back here again. Hello, Heather, again. Oh, thanks so much, Heather, for the support with the likes. Always appreciate the support. It's coming along, though. It came along faster than I thought it would in my previous scenes. So, like right here, I'm going in with the gray, and the next stop is black. So, and then I'm going to do a lot of like fine tuning types of touches with the colored pencil. So, but we're getting most of the large kind of tonal considerations done very quickly here. The more I do this, though, I mean, this is only my second piece, here, but it's a big piece. But when I was thinking about the this map whole type of scenario here with a lot of different images and things like that I haven't done. This is like an extreme version of what I'm usually doing. I don't know. I was thinking it would take a lot longer. I did have to use my brain a lot on that previous one to figure out how to kind of blend things together. But now that I've done this second one, it's like what I've heard from. I remember this other guy that there was a store called Hippo Heart in the Bay Area that I was teaching classes at, and the owner's husband, that also helped out at the store and stuff like that. But I don't know, in like his younger days, I think he went to like Africa or something like that, or something, where you're out in the kind of I don't know all these different countries and whatnot. And he said, yeah, at first when he kind of first went out there, he kind of thought, oh my gosh, how different everyone is. But then after he became like a seasoned traveler, the thing that was the same, that occurred to him is how everyone's the same. He kind of discovered after being in these areas and traveling around. Well, it's like this one right here. Bad analogy, but it's like that's what I was thinking about periodically is that statement. But then this one right here, it's like, I feel like after I did one of these, it's not too much different than working on a smaller piece, okay? So it's like here's a scene like this, here's a scene right here, I guess like that. It's like a half page one. I guess this one's almost like a half page right here. I don't know. This is like a little quarter. I don't know. And this is, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Like, whatever. But treating this lighting in here and everything like that, it's still basically the same now to me after doing that first one. Okay, like I'm doing this one right here, and I'm not really considering things too much or having to overthink things like that. I mean, I might do something like this. Here's the moon up here, and I might put my shadow kind of coming this way from the moon because it's kind of angling over here. On this way and over here, I might put my shadows coming out this way. You know what I mean? But it's just, instead of it being right here, it's just up there. So I don't know. It feels reasonably comfortable working on a larger piece like this. Now, I should say a larger and very cluttered piece like this. I don't know. It doesn't feel too different to me. Hello, Linda. You're doing yours portrait style. I thought about that, but I have to keep this one landscape to match up with my first one. But yeah, doing a scene like this, it wouldn't be fun to do a scene, a huge scene like this. I would do like cascading waterfalls or something like this down, a larger piece. I've done it on a 8.5 by 11 before. But doing things like that and really taking advantage of the scale or something like that, or you can really do a lot of stuff down in your landscape like this. And if you wanted to, you can do sky or something like this, or you can represent different areas. Wouldn't it be cool to have like some trees down here where you go up into like a high noon sky, then you go up higher, and then you're, kind of in that, I don't know, whatever you're in space or whatever, then you can go up higher with, deep space up there with nebula or something like that. So you can really take advantage of the format for those types of visual narratives that, it'd be harder to do, you know what I mean, on a 4.25 by 5.5, standard card size piece. So I don't know, just different types of things kind of open up in terms of I don't know, just opportunities, I guess, with scale. Do I want to always be doing 11 by 17? I don't know. Probably not. Usually after I do like a piece like this, my next video would be like, a quarter page card with like 2 stamps on it. It takes like 15 minutes. I think that's what happened here. I was doing those foil scenes like last week, where it's like super fast. It's just like you're stamping the images on the foil. It's like, I don't know, 3 stamps, 2 stamps in the quote, just in stays on ink, and that's it. So maybe that's why it's like this is like countering like those super simplistic ones and fast ones. We want to live our life in stamping balance, right? I should stamp out some of these pebbles in the gray tone too, down here, rather than just all in black. Linda's scary stamps. Well, you're setting your stage for your scary stamps, I guess, Linda, huh? You're leaving spaces for the ones to come in. You'll stamp them at that time. Or are you just gonna finish off whatever you're doing right now and just do a new scene with the new stamps? All right, PJB, have a good time at that other channel. They're what do you call it? I forgot the name of that thing. She's or they're oh, I forgot. They're like the monitor of the other channel. I forget whatever you call that. I've lost my words today. Okay, I think that's it with the grays right there. I think I'm ready for the next thing here. Oh, hello, Tammy. Thanks for joining in. If I haven't said it before, thanks to whoever else is on. Thanks for joining in. All right, we're on the black now. So I'm going to go with the Marvy black. And one of the things I found out with the Marvy black in my previous piece, with all that kind of layered gray tones from the first 2 colors, is I can't get as dark with the Marvy black as I would want. So that's when I start moving into the VersaFine Clair. Actually, before the VersaFine Clair, should I add the VersaFine Clair in before or after the colored pencil? Colored pencil, that wax is a tough assignment for any type of ink to stick on top of, so... God. Huh. But then the VersaFine Clair is sitting on the surface, so I would be digging into the pigment ink, wouldn't I? I don't remember what I did last time, so... I don't know, we'll figure it out. You have no stamping balance, huh? Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. With some people, like in a lot of my workshops and whatnot, and I'm talking about like beginning workshops too. With some people, you just want to you just tell them. You might give most people you give a little bit of tips to, whatnot. Some people might start going in, and it's like you can see that they're kind of better. They learn better just, they're doing fine on their own. So you just say, all right, just keep doing what you're doing, but just do more of it. Or you might sell them some sort of process to do, and they might be doing a different process, but it's working out for them. Or remotely, I might see someone that's doing something, and I might say, work from, just in typical, as far as the typical process, I'm working from light to dark in here. But then they might not be doing that, but it's coming out just fine. It's just like, just go with that, People, you just have to do kind of with whatever thing works for you. So I'd say that with Linda, but then Linda does case some of my pieces, and they look at fantastic. But Linda, you cased that surfing one, and you mentioned that you learned something new from every, I don't know, do you remember what you learned from that one? A lot of people who replicate, some scene that I'm doing too in a lesson form or whatever, a lot of times their pieces come out better looking than mine did, which is, which I find awesome. Okay, so when you're going with a darker color like this, say if you want to, I might add on a little bit less black to this column here to where it looks a little bit more kind of rounded like this. So see, I'm kind of adding a lot, I'm tapping this a lot on, mostly on this paper where I'm just barely going on there like that. So you get this kind of more varied application of that. See, it's going from darker to lighter like that, across that like that. So, when you get into your darker tones, they can kind of define your forms a little bit more. So use kind of less. This is for people that haven't really done this before, but a lot of times they might see a column like this and see it as something to be colored uniformly across the entire thing. But it's more, I like to vary things a little bit more. I mean, it could be that you have a dark silhouette of a column or something like that too, and that's fine. But if you're going for kind of more of this kind of idea of this rounded form, then see, I hit it with that, then I'll hit it a little bit darker on the edge. See, this isn't going very much darker. I might need to go to the VersaFine Clair, but so like that, and then you get more of this kind of varied area like that. That's a little bit, let's see, let's go a little bit more like that. See, like that? So that it's going from dark to light like that. And that's the same thing that's going on here. It's going from dark to light up here. So that's what I'm teaching people a lot of times early on, is getting people used to the idea of, that haven't done it before, kind of rendering things as opposed to kind of coloring it, and giving kind of a varied area to something like that. So some of them might see this water area like that, and they're coming from an idea where they might have a pond that's drawn with a dark outline around it like that, and they're used to kind of coloring in. They might have various variations within that space, but sometimes when they don't have those lines in here, they feel inclined to color in this universally, like it's all one color of, like, say, blue, in a non-haunted, scenario like this. But this is more where you're doing it, you might put in those lighter tones in here, but then when you get into the darker tones, you just kind of keep it more on the perimeter like that. And that's a technique that everyone's doing in most of their types of coloring, even if it's from outlines, but they just need to bring that sensibility into this kind of open format where there's no kind of real definitive, areas. I guess you can call these columns real, they're outlines like that, but they're in this kind of wide open space where there's not these, clear cutoff areas like that. So, and as soon as they find out, oh, it is, like I was mentioning, they find out that, oh, okay, they see the similarities, or they see where it is the same. It's much easier for them than when they're going into it thinking it's a completely different type of process. And I'm bringing that up because someone just brought that up with me. I don't know, it was like 2 days ago or something like that, where I saw their piece. They were saying they were having kind of troubles with like shading and coloring, and I thought they were much more kind of I don't know, at a much more basic level. But then I saw their piece. It's like, oh, okay, they have their coloring, their lighting, their shading was all in there already, where they weren't really talking about, okay, they have a problem with shading and coloring. They were talking about more like a real kind of refined type of, kind of suggestion on where their scene was. And then, they just finished it off really great in one area. But they had come from, more of that outline style of design style of coloring. All right, so adding this on. So remember on these like columns right here, I left the left side lighter. So on these trees right here, you see I'm adding this darker area and leaving this side lighter to reference that moonlight on the trees like that, okay? Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to do. I was going to have some overhanging tree limbs in this one. Okay. I'll try to keep that in mind before I hit it with like some the colored pencil. We can still add that in at any time, just as long as we do it before the colored pencil. Although, I don't know, the StazOn can stick to that colored pencil a little bit, huh? One not to worry about my work. He'll say you need to stop stamping. Oh, yeah, Donna, you didn't miss too much. I just kind of filled in, with part two, I just kind of filled in the rest of the little imagery and things like that into these spaces, little hikers and stuff like that. Some of the little figurines. The piece was largely, kind of complete in terms of the stamping part of it, though, in part one. So see here, the columns, the larger trees. Here's a smaller, tree trunk right here. Doing that side. Now see, this one is just too narrow. I'm not going to put this right here and try to do it with this. So this one's perfect for like colored pencil. All right, so see what I've done here. I've largely added the darker right side shading, and then I've added this shadow at the base of it. I said I was going to go too dark in here, but I thought, the fences are holding up visually just fine, by having this kind of darker down here. And plus it kind of anchored that tree down here. Now look at that deer's really standing out a little bit too much, isn't it? It needs to be a little bit more, kind of dark silhouette in the darkness, look a little bit more. See, this is as dark as that black seems to be getting right now. With the Marv ink, see, it's kind of like more like a 80% gray. It's because this page is really saturated with the gray inks underneath this black right now. I could, we could allow it to dry a little bit longer, but I'm not going to stop this video or I'm not going to, put a, I'm not going to heat set it or something like that. But it's kind of good in a way because it's allowing me to blend these colors in really easily and nicely and etc. Because it isn't going on like this and then it's just hard set like that. You know what I mean? You can just kind of add this in like this and you can kind of move it around a little bit, to an extent, It really just blends very nicely. And again, that's because we've added in a lot of the re-inker fluid underneath that, and it's kind of soaked, our pulp of the paper a little bit, and surface, it's made it wet. So it makes the whole process so much easier to do. It's a little bit more precarious going on with black on just, a dry piece of paper like that, because that is stuck like that. I mean, we're not going to use that as a technique like that. You can go like this, and get a much smoother, type of process. But again, that's like fixed on there because it's on just a dry surface like that. But here, I'm applying this gray into, a little bit of a moist surface and pulp of the paper. Let's see. Linda learned how the wave moved with the scene. Oh, got it. Yeah. The shading and light forming through the wave rather than over it. Got it. Yeah. I had to kind of remind myself of that type of thing too, because I hadn't used that set in a while. I want to do it again too. I want to do more of that Great Wave piece. I know that there's all these stamps that I haven't used in a while, like that one, and someone was mentioning the beaver scene. I feel like doing another one of those too. Okay, adding a little bit of shadows underneath our ants like that. Earlier we were talking about Highlights magazine, and But just in terms of referencing the seek and find little thing, and it's kind of fun doing these little things like this. If you have a lot of iconography out of a certain holiday or just any type of theme, I think, these larger pieces are really kind of lend itself to being kind of like a, little seek and find type of scenario like that. See how I add a little bit of shadow underneath these two, that leafless limb and that little, craggy little bush wouldn't be casting that deep of a shadow, but, just kind of anchors it down in there and it breaks up this area in here again. Dark, light, like that. See that? Let's see. What is emerging from that pond? That same little Edward Gorey stamp that was in the previous scene. I just kind of stamped the lower half of them. It was either that I was going to do the graven images guy. I thought that would be really cool coming out from that water too. That graven image one, that would be a big attention getter, huh? Looking at that. I already had this already kind of stamped in here, so if I stamped it out right here, all those little pebbly things would show right through this, but I would just take the acrylic white paint pen and just kind of white out those eyes on here again, but that would have been cool. I might want to use this on my next, on the third piece of the third sequential piece. Could be a triptych though too. All right, so let's see. For a minute there, I forgot I was working with black. I was thinking I was working with gray. And essentially, you kind of are working with gray, because when you're working with black like this, you're just applying kind of thinner layers of, that color of ink, and again, which is going to be a lighter version of it. Glad you like it, Jeannie. Time to bust out your inner ghoul and maybe do some haunted pieces. I don't know, Jeannie, do you have some like Halloween imagery? And if you don't, you can always just do kind of a setting, using a lot more of the bare branches. Probably go like an extra tone or two darker, maybe. I don't know. You can make any type of scenario kind of very welcoming. You can change it to kind of more foreboding, just depending on the colors you're using, in scenic stamping, right? Oh, these ones right here. That's the Easter Island imagery right there, Tammy. I think it was by Zettiology. Anyone know the company Zettiology with Tisha and Tracy Moore? Hello, Sandy. Good to see you. How would something like this work on something like watercolor? I don't know, Donna. One of those things about watercolor paper and the heavy texturing on them, the more texture on something, the less detail you get in the impressions. But I mean, I love watercolor paper, but like, say, if you stamped out something like real small imagery like this on watercolor paper, let's say, like it's in one of those recessed areas, you might lose like half of the object to that recession within the watercolor paper. If you're doing that, and if you're stamping out like fine little things like that, I would recommend just going on with a Sharpie pen and continuing it out. But one of the things about watercolor paper is, would you do it with watercolor paints to finish it off? And I think that looks awesome. I love watercolor. Pieces, stamped pieces, or finished pieces, I should say. It's one of my favorite types of things. I don't know. Chris, you use a lot of watercolors, don't you? Or were you saying that you haven't? Yeah, you were saying that you haven't done something or something like that. But yeah, I mean, like Chris should incorporate like a lot of watercolor pieces. Looking at her sketches and like field drawings and paintings. But yeah, I don't know. So something like that, I don't know why it wouldn't work. But again, for me, if I was doing something like that, just in terms of the impressions, I would probably go with a little bit more of a, I don't know if there is such a thing, but like a smoother, one of the smoother watercolor based papers, just again just for those impressions in there. Or maybe you just adjust, if it's a really um, I don't know, bolder types of imagery that you're going to be using on there, then I guess it wouldn't matter if, it's one of those more highly textured watercolor papers that you're doing. Let's see. Oh, you want me to do a Halloween piece in grayscale on silver metallic paper? That'd be interesting. I was thinking on stuff like this too, one of these days. I kind of did just my first little experiment with that grayscale on silver metallic, but incorporating the silver into, or just foil in general, in with a scenario like this. But I thought that this water on the foil looked as shimmery a surface, water-like surface, as I've ever got, in a scene. And it's because it's on silver metallic like that. But see, little things like this, if you have little areas, or just one area or whatever, or it could, it could be this one scene, and it has this body of water in there, I mean, that really looks like, to me, and then when I flipped off all my lights too, and I just had a little bit of glowing, light on this scene right here, I thought that really looks like, a nighttime moonlit scene or something like that. So it could come out interesting. So instead of this old deer down here, creature of the Black Lagoon, whatever, exterior wilderness, creature of the Black Lagoon, horror, That's all you do in something like that. It would be cool if I did something like that, creature of the Black Lagoon, like on a silver, a green foil or something like that. Well, up to you, Chris. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so I've seen some of your pieces that are rather large in terms of your drawings. Those are field drawings, though. I don't know. They're like, it's got that real cool kind of, spontaneous sketch, watercolor, field study types of things. But those things look like a lot of work to me. Or you can leave the game boards up to I don't know, is anyone else going to do like large format pieces like this? You can leave that up to us and you can just play the game with us. As soon as we figure out the game to go along with them. We'll do the game boards, Chris, and you can host the game board night at your place. It's going to be we're going to be playing it at midnight and with just candlelight. All right. There we go. See, I have this tree kind of casting a little bit of a shadow going. I don't know. I didn't get that shadow right there. Let me go a little bit higher like that. I don't know. I mean, just in general like that. Okay. Now these ones right here, maybe the shadow would be coming down here a little bit more. This type of thing. I'm going to be refining this stuff with the colored pencil. I find the colored pencil to be so easy. I'm sorry I'm getting so much glare like this. See, this is... I don't know, this is shinier. This paper is more reflective for some reason than it seems like it would be. I don't know. I guess you get all this black ink on there and it's really kind of getting, I don't know, kind of reflective in those areas like that, where it's like, it's really like that dark like that. Okay, so I'm anchoring. I'm really, this part right for me is fun. It's like I'm just kind of tweaking my darker areas a little bit and refining some of my shadows. I love doing that type of thing. And then I love doing the reverse type of thing where I go in there and I do the highlights on these types of things. So, okay, so All right, before I get too far, and before I totally forget to do it, let's go in and add in some of those kind of overhanging kind of tree limbs and things like that coming into the scene from the perimeters like that. See that little darker area? Look at how much that kind of added to that. I don't know, just the value changes on there. And then we can go with that one a little bit lighter up in the distance like that. So you go a little bit darker here, or distance is a little bit lighter. It can, kind of push depth a little bit just in that little space like that, just by adding in a little bit more tone like that. We'll do it here too. It's been a long time since I've stamped out this Easter Island imagery. I did it, gosh, I don't know, it was way back when. I did it on a square piece. I remember. I think it's up in the Fusion Gallery in the Stampscapes website. But that was always one of my favorite scenes. All right, let's see. Let's see here. Good tips there on the paper there, Chris. Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of a hot press. Is there a hot press watercolor paper? When I was thinking about that. Yeah, the hot press is, much more smooth like that. Or you can also use like a Bristol board or something like that that's going to accept the watercolors, just fine. And a lot of those Bristols are, very smooth, or illustration boards, or something like that too. There's hot and cold press illustration boards. It seems to be either photo glossy or artist quality. I don't know. You can find those things out there, Donna. It's just those types of things, you're not too limited, but it's the sourcing out there, that's tough. It's tougher these days. It seems strange that, you can get all those different types of papers so much easier at one time, like, I don't know, 15, 10, 20 years ago. But you would think that, with the internet and things like that and availability, there'd be just so much more choices out there. But I don't know. The paper industry's really gone through a lot of upheaval, and there's a lot less manufacturers out there these days. But there's got to be printers out there, in the UK, that have that material, and they're sourcing it from somewhere. Now they're part of the trade, so they have that available to them. But it would just seem like there's got to be something out there that you can find. Oh, someone sent me something. I got to go back in, but we were in a live stream like this, and they sent me the link for, like, I don't know, it was like Norway or something like that, where they can get glossy cardstock without any problem. But it wasn't glossy photo paper, though. Jeannie has never watched a horror movie. Huh. Start easy, Jeannie. Start off with maybe like The Exorcist or something like that. In like a dark room at, I don't know, midnight or something like that. Right, everyone? Start off lightweight like that. I don't know. What about even like the monster, even like the animal horror things, Jeannie? You haven't seen like Jaws? Hey, a lot of people, aren't into horror. That's what I was mentioning a couple times, on a previous vid before. It's like, I found out that a lot of my friends weren't into horror. Hiking friends. I don't know if they were all women. I think there was a couple guys in there too that couldn't watch them. I don't know. Maybe it was in the outdoor club too. It's like, you know, when you're out there like sleeping in a tent, you don't want to have like this kind of visions of some horror movie that you just watched or something like that, kind of going through your head when your tent is like the walls are thinner than like a t-shirt, and you're out in the middle of nowhere. Well, I don't know, not nowhere, but campground or something like that. Yeah, there was backpacking too, so it is kind of like a little bit in the middle of nowhere. All right, so anyways, here I'm still going with this same black right here. Look at this. Here's my little tool here. So it's getting, see, the more I use it, the more kind of, when I first start out, I'm covering larger areas, so you have a tool like that, right? And then now, as I get more specific, this is kind of getting pinched off. I start pinching this off, and I'm getting this more narrow, type of applicator right here, to get into the, like, more specific, detailed, I wouldn't call it detailed areas, but just smaller little areas like that, okay? So you work from the wide to, the general to the specific, like that. All right. Hopefully these columns are a little bit drier now too, where it's going to be accepting some of the ink like that. Donna ordered some 11 by 17 papers. Got it. What type of paper did you get? Is that, you got some cardstock? So the 300 GSM, we're not familiar with that out here, the GSM configuration. I'm guessing that's probably like a 12 point, it's 300 GSM, about 12 point, or roughly like 110 pound paper. I'm guessing so. I like documentaries, science, and animal shows. Watch documentaries on monsters then, Jeannie. Watch the documentaries on vampires. I watch all kinds of things. I watch, I'm not just only into, like, horror or anything like that. In fact, I don't watch too much horror. A lot of times there's not. I was talking about this with my wife, and we were just saying, yeah, there's a lot of like in all genres though. There's a lot of bad horror movies out there. That just, when I say bad, they're just not well made, but also just not scary. I don't know. Like, I don't know. This is like a really large percentage of that. I started watching more and more and more of that because my son was, I don't know. It's like we watched something, it had to be horror, so, I became like a much more, horror-based moviegoer. Or horror-based movie streamer, streaming movies. All right. So, anyways, you see this kind of developing a little bit more. It's getting better, huh? I don't know. I thought I was going to be done with. I thought I was done with the black, and it was time to go on with the colored pencil. But I'm getting a lot more mileage with this right now. And the more you do with something like this too, the less I'll have to do with the colored pencil. The colored pencil is more of a detailed, tool. So, I'd rather go quicker with wider, larger applicator here. Now these really aren't tombstones, but they're just kind of representing that type of thing to me here. But it would be cool. I should put like little names on here, So I'll start a contest in this live stream, and whoever answers, correctly, you know, you'll get the honor of getting your name on a tombstone. How's that? Now, you see the horror fans out there, they might like that. To some other people, that suggestion, I just lost them. They just dropped out of the live stream. All right, so anyways, see what I've done here? I've kind of toned in. I mean, that wouldn't be the way these things are, supposed to be, but I'm just adding in some variation. That's not the way that they would be shaded or, in reality with that type of lighting. They would be totally backlit and dark. But, this is stamping and it's not reality out there. And again, we're treating this more like stage lighting where you have, multiple light sources, gels, and everything like that that you can kind of angle and direct at anything that you want your viewer to kind of look at, or you can de-emphasize other things, so. Okay, let's see here. There you can see the 3 ants there, a la Highlights magazine. 3 ants. Anyone ever play those games called hidden object games? A lot of it is kind of an adventure type of thing, but it's like, you play on your iPad or computer or something like that, and it'll have a listing of all the things that are within the scene. So this one would have like ants with a parentheses of 3, and then as soon as you click one, it goes down to 2 or something like that. But we were playing a lot of those for a while, when my son was of the age. And, it kind of helped him in reading too. So he'd read the things that we were supposed to be looking for. But most of those, it seemed like the theme was like a haunted type of scenario. Or it's like solving like a mystery, like a murder case or something like that or whatever. But they all kind of, most of them had kind of a darker kind of thing. Not heavy darkness or anything like that, but, they were all of that same type of, or similar type of genre. But this is, you can see this is like a, monster map, game board, and also if you bury enough stuff in there, it could be like a little hidden object type of thing. Oh, this is so you're watching, yeah, so this is like a documentary here, right, Jeannie? It's a documentary on stamping here. It's definitely more interactive, I guess. If some people are posting stuff, big on movies. That's not big on movies because he doesn't like the patience to sit still. Yeah, I get that, a lot of people don't watch movies, they're out, kind of doing things. I like doing both, and whatnot. Kay finds the thought process is fascinating to some, comatose to others, Nosferatu. Oh, the original one, right? Froggy Fresh. Major areas, Boss, Climb, and Paper Chase have outlets. Oh, that's a good tip there, Chris. On the paper. Jeannie never saw Jaws. What was that? Jaws. What was that? What was the other part to that? It was like, or maybe it was Jaws 2, just when you thought it was safe to go near the water or something like that. Or did Jaws have a sub, title type of thing? Okay, let's see. I'm getting a lot more mileage out of this black. I don't know, maybe it's because of the amount of practice I had, with that last piece. Like even for me, I never do this amount of toning on any scene, because I'm not doing large pieces, and a lot of times I'm not doing them monochromatically like this in grayscale. So I don't know. I'm getting, I don't know, better at it, I guess, with this tone, and I'm getting darker than what I thought I would get. I'm starting to wonder if I need to go in with the VersaFine Clair. I should though, just because I've used the VersaFine Clair in the previous video, and I want these to match up from a tonal sense with each other. Okay, so I want to keep things fairly uniform when it comes to that type of thing. All right, so let's add in some additional imagery here. Some spookier types of things like this. Coming into it, I didn't do it on my first one because I thought it would be kind of distracting, but I think it seems to, like it would fit in this second piece without any problem here, so I don't know. Okay, so Jeannie's you're watching the documentary on the serial killers. That's a big like a subject on a lot of the different shows that are coming out, or like true crime and stuff like that. I mean, it's been a while, not just recently, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, you got to be able to find something over there, Donna. Um, I want to get a database of stuff, like especially papers, availability in cardstocks, glossy cardstocks, and whatnot. Going forward, I am going to be trying some other types of just photo papers. I don't know. Mine, I used it from. My photo paper was from, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. It's those packs of photo paper, and I was surprised at the results I got from the. I've tried photo paper before. I don't know why, but it just didn't. In terms of like ink blending like this, I mean, I was just like crazy. But I just tried it again recently on I don't know, piece from. I don't know when it was, like 2 weeks ago. It feels like it's been longer. It feels like it's been a month. But I was kind of surprised on it. I thought that if we did some tweaks with it, we can get some really good kind of similar results to cardstock. And then, of course, the photo paper, that's available anywhere. So, like anywhere within the world. As long as the photo papers are kind of similar in surface from brand to brand or whatnot. I kind of forgot about the different types of photo paper out there too. It was like there's glossy, matte, and satin, right? In terms of the finish. But I really want to get some of those. So that branch in front of the moon like that. It kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. In terms of contrast, you stamp something kind of dark against something light, and they play off each other from a value contrast standpoint. It's a little bit light and airy, but I don't want to come down in here too much with some of these thicker branches. I didn't leave enough space for that, so I'll kind of watch out for that a little bit. Okay, I'm just doing this with the stays on again. Now, see, Marvy Black is kind of been my favorite black through the years, but I'm kind of using the stays. I'm trying to experiment with these other things that a lot of people already have or can get easily too, right? Stays on. Please don't tell me that, some of it's being discontinued or something like that. But I was a little bit worried about the Brilliance inks getting discontinued too. Just so many people had never heard of Brilliance inks before. And I didn't realize, because I'm not really keeping up with that type of thing, that, over the years, just Brilliance inks were just kind of a forgotten ink medium, I just assumed everyone had it because everyone, when those things came out back when, everyone had those Brilliance inks, or at least the black one, because everyone needed something to be able to stamp pigment ink wise on glossy cardstock and have it dry. So, yeah. The Exorcist starting easy, yeah, Michelle. We're gonna start Genie nice and easy with the horror genre, and at midnight. Make sure your husband's not home either with that one. What lies beneath? Oh, well, those are the perfect types of businesses, Chris, too. If they're aimed at businesses, yeah, the business applications like that. So if they have stuff like the Kelly Papers do, and aimed at the printing industry too, perfect for that. And they obviously sell to the public too. I need to reference that again I'll try to scroll up and see what after this, because I'm going to forget those names there. Um, I want to see what. Oh, ants coming out from like a fire ant hill like that. That'd be kind of cool, huh? They can be coming out like this and walking around this way and coming back around here. They're like on a little circuit. That'd be pretty cool with the ants like that. Okay. Let's see. Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water. Jaws 2. Pan pastels. The inks won't blend well. Lots of challenges. Oh, yours is on complete matte, huh, Linda? The pastels would be a perfect medium for this because you can get so much coverage so fast, and to manipulate those values like that. Yeah, the pastels would be fantastic for this type of scenario, I think. But same thing too with the watercolors too. I'd love to see someone do something like this in watercolors. I love watercolor washes combined with stamping. Okay, so I've added this in here, and some of these trees, I like these tree thumbs up here, but I want to cut down some of the contrast up there. So I'm going to go in with a little bit more of this VersaFine Clair like this, the same kind of darkness and same media, and I'm going to go in and add this in. VersaFine Clair is just, it's very surface oriented. The pigment inks, they lie on the surface. Dye-based inks work by staining something. So this is going to give me a nice dark application like that. I know it's all, well, I don't know, maybe it's not glary as much, because it's that kind of flatter pigment. Look how shiny that is down here, but maybe it's where it is just, I don't know, is that all shiny out there too? Oh, okay, maybe it's just the location within my desk here, but okay, let's go and add this in. Okay, everything's relative. I thought, okay, I got a lot of mileage out of that black Marvy, but this is like a lot darker. I can just tell it's probably gone up. I probably got in like another 10% of darkness, if not 15, going from like a 70% to at least, I don't know, like 85 right here. See that? See, the image is like almost like 100% black, but that area right there, right next to it, toning in like that, got me a lot kind of further along, in developing a nice value scale, going, from light to really dark. And again, you don't have to put, I'm not talking about going like having this like darkness everywhere. It's just kind of, I'm hitting it in my darker areas. So going back to what we were talking about in terms of lighting strategy, corners, darker, kind of adding that little vignette, you can go around on the perimeter of a scene. I should reference my previous scene and just see how heavy I got with that down at the base so that they kind of can match up a little bit. I'm not thinking about the previous scene too much, but I do want it, to, kind of harmonize, reasonably well. It doesn't have to harmonize completely, as if it was going to, just butt up right, against it or something like that. But we do want it to match up a little bit. Okay, see, going around on the perimeter like this. Oh, do I do that to the columns and trees too? Huh. At least on this one, because it's like on the, the edge of the page. When do we ever have kind of issues, where we're stamping something out and we have this issue of like, oh, I don't know, now it's not doing it. Like sliding down on us like that, because it's so big. Okay. Let's see. What was that about the stamp cleaning? Watercolors. Linda, you're dabbling around in watercolors, huh? Okay, let's see here. The Two-Face rock stamp. Look up Crystal Fire. Look up, see if you can find any Easter Island rubber stamp or something like that. I don't know if it would be out there. This one I think was an original. It was an original drawing, and it was in. I'm pretty sure it was Zettiology. And I don't know who was designing for them, but I'm pretty sure it was an original for, designed to be a rubber stamp as opposed to, clip art or something like that. I think when I got that, I can almost remember when I bought that too. I think I went up to their table, or if that was them. This was an unmounted stamp, and I just mounted it on wood myself. But I remember I bought another stamp. I bought two big stamps, kind of not knowing where, I knew how I could use it, but I didn't know what I was going to use it with. And I haven't used it too much. Like I said, I don't know, it's been a while since I've used it, I think. It's one of the things about stamping big. You can get in and you can really dip into a lot of your different stamps, just break them out and just, finally get around to using them. And on this one, where I didn't have to worry about depth or anything like that, or, space, things like that, having to abide by, Western perspective, higher up, farther back, lower, larger, closer, things like that. When you can throw all that out the door, it was really nice. Not that, I feel like I'm stamping with a bunch of rules or anything like that normally, but, when you're stamping around on a quarter-page piece of card, roughly about, you're not taking so many kind of visual liberties, maybe. I don't know. I guess, if I did these types of things on a much smaller card, it would feel more like collage or something like that, I guess. where you're just throwing scale out the door, big thing up here, big close up here, small, farther back in the distance and stuff like that. All right. When I use matte cardstock, I use Prismacolor pencils, Tombow markers, oil, and chalk pastels. Interesting, Marta. The oil pastel. I don't see too many people using the oil pastels a lot, but you're saying that you use those all in conjunction with one another in a multimedia type of use? Or did you use those separate from one another? But yeah, I love multimedia like that. I always say, and this is more, for the people that are kind of new to scenic stamping. But a lot of times people ask me, hey, they they want to just, I don't know, use like one medium or something like that. Like, if it's going to be watercolors, then it's not going to be colored pencils or something like that, you know. And, they're not kind of thinking about maybe the multimedia usage of, the things that they already have or know how to do. But, why not utilize all of your different media for whatever's conducive on your piece? So if you have something that needs detail coloring done, then, why not use a colored pencil or something like that that's got that nice, sharp tip on it or something of that sort. So it's like, with me, it seems like, I'll be working along or something like this. Then it's like, I'll add in something and it just kind of stays in the repertoire or whatever. So it's like my list of supplies just keeps building. Even though I might not use it kind of extensively in some scene, I might use it a little bit. But it seems like that's kind of happening. Like stays on, So it's like, okay, I'm not using stays on. So that's like now, in the list of supplies that I've utilized. You know. Because it's just, I don't know, one of them is like firmly applied and then I can use another black. So, there's different characteristics between, the solvent black and the Marby black. But I do need to simplify things though for people that are starting off. They don't want to see like an ingredient list of like 20 different things used in a scene. They want to see, stays on ink and, whatever. Gold foil or so, you know what I mean? It's good to have kind of both going in there or utilized in some scenario for people. But me, the personal stamping, I don't know, it just keeps adding on and on and on. I'm sure it's the same way with all of you too, right? You haven't met a medium that you don't like. At least to some degree, or you haven't met a pad, that that you don't like. Okay, so I need to go in. This is a little bit too much. That branch up there is a little bit too monotonous. Okay. So let's mix it up a little bit. This interior piece, this second piece is getting pretty dense with information, but I like it. I might be a little bit more conservative in terms of my applications, but then as I do these pieces, in these larger pieces, it's like, oh, especially coming right after the foil where kind of less is better, simpler the better. On this one right here, it's like, I'm realizing that you can do, I don't know. Was I talking with Linda about that? It was like, you can kind of just do, I don't know, you can kind of do whatever. Because any individual type of thing, it's not playing as significant a role in the overall composition, even even if you stamp something out, whatever, how many times, just in terms of the scale, you know, it's not that big of a deal. So I just stamped all these these additional leaves up there on a much smaller place. It plays so much more of a significant role. But this isn't a small stamp. And I wasn't using the whole thing of it, but I don't know, 1, 2, 3, I don't know, like 6 impressions of it. And if someone just looked at this, I don't know if they're even paying attention to those impressions at all. So, yeah. Okay. Definitely the most textural piece I've ever done, like in my life here. There's your stays on paper cleaner right there. All right. I hope I didn't lose that little thing that goes in between the cap and that. But okay, so that is that right there. I know a little bit more framing, with the imagery. I think it helped it out, slightly. Okay, let's see. What is the name of the stamp that is in the walkway in the trees? Oh, that's Cobbled Path right there, Debbie. I use the oil pastels towards the end. Okay, so Marta, yeah, you're working from water-based to oil. That makes sense. And it's also the oil-based pastels are kind of you're working from like a thin to thick style of application, like people would do with oil painting like that. That makes sense. I haven't done any size bigger other than the regular and 44 by 6. Yeah, we know what you meant, Marta. But that would be cool, 44 by 6. They'd call that like the mega slim line. Marta, it's time to break out. 11 by 17. I don't know, you probably have some 8 by 10s, 8.5 by 11s, right? Full size pieces. Might want to give it a try. You might find, I don't know, um, you might find it fun. With some people, stamp liberation in the larger scale pieces. Me? I don't know. I learned some things with this one though. It stretches you for sure, and that's a good thing to always do in I don't know in the name of creativity. If that's I don't know. And then when I go back into the smaller pieces, I don't know. I'll see if some of these other types of things apply to it. That you've picked up in doing the larger pieces. I don't know. I can I'll only know when I get to that. But I don't know. I don't know. I think I'll be taking some things with me, when I go into smaller pieces, in terms of this whole process right here. Like this one right here, I don't know. I'll probably be doing some more textural types of things in kind of a smaller way going forward, I think, I don't know. I usually just don't pull out all of my like textural stamps, ready to use them in any given piece, but just having them all handy like that, it's like, okay, these certain types of combinations look really good Or I don't know. One of the things that someone was mentioning to that they want to pick up is kind of more realism, and kind of going for those more varied textures like that. I think can contribute to that. So I'll probably when we're in that workshop with her, I'll probably bring up some of that with her. Okay, so colored pencil, right? Let's see. Oh yeah, moderator. I was trying to think of the word moderator for what you were moderating in the other room, PJB. Let's see. Time to break out the cobbled path, Debbie. Now, how did you not know you had that already? Isn't that that's your favorite stamp, isn't it? Is the road stamp also stamp? Yeah, this one right there is called the Dirt Road. This one's 374G. This one is like 332F, I think. If those made it into my memory banks before I kind of ran out of my like internal RAM or internal hard drive space, I might remember it. I don't know why. But certain codes certain stamps, I don't know, I remember the name of. Okay, here, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so, much more detailed coloring. I'm not going to be like doing like vast areas like this. It's kind of more refinements of what you've already colored. So, this one right here, I'm kind of going, I mean, I might add in something, it's like, oh, like this one right here, it's not rendered at all. So, I'll go into something like that. But for the most part, it's like, this is like perfect for, like demon, like colored pencils are great for demon prairie dogs, right? So you can go in here like this, and, they're being mostly backlit. So we'll go in like that and put them in, shadows, and then also kind of anchor them down a little bit more in terms of the shading. And then when I'm doing at the base of a lot of things, let's say there's an object like, let's say this is a rock like this or something like this, and if the moonlight's coming from right here, then what I'm doing is I'm going down here like this, and this is dark down at the base like that, okay? And then I'm going up here, and it's kind of going from dark to light like that, okay? But then your shadow coming this direction or whatever, okay? It's darker at the closest area, and then you're just kind of, you're diffusing it like this. Okay, so as it moves out. So that's just kind of the general type of idea. So dark at the base, lighter up there, and lighter away from that, from that spot like that, right there. That's the darkest point, right? And you go lighter up like that and lighter out like that. So you go for that lighting diffusion in whatever direction you're doing it. And then if there's a rock over this way, thing, just remember to change your directional lighting like that. So it's going like this, dark at the base like that, and then you're coming around like that. So little pebbles like this would be this way, right? People are seeing those drawings saying, Kevin, are you sure you drew those designs of yours? When I tend to do these demonstrations, it's like a little stick figure or something like that. All right, so here's these little people. They're not rocks or anything like that, but there's the moonlight up there, okay? So just in general, you can just kind of figure the light, the shadows, just in general. I'm talking, this isn't like a rendering, 201 or something like this, but just in general, we're just trying to reference it, and, you go like that, a little bit of shadow coming out like that. This one is like very, now these two kids have a built-in kind of shadow in them, but I'm just kind of, anchoring them down a little bit. But see that right there? It just kind of anchors them too, like that, right? This one right here, let's see, a little bit more shading to it, like this. I'll just kind of vary it a little bit, going from one side to the next. I'm going to put this one. This one is going to look good in like some like some haze or something like that, some spooky haze. So let's come around like this. Let's create a little bit more separation. Here's where I kind of run into a dilemma sometime. See, I want this lit from the moon like that. Maybe I should have darkened in this little perimeter, but you can either darken this or you can darken the sky just to create that separation between the two like that. Okay, so you can go either way. Maybe I should have darkened it up here instead and left this light, I mean, I can still do that, but... Okay, so see this right here, kind of going away from the moon. You're just kind of, dissipating this kind of cloud and it kind of extending it that way, like that. Okay, that area I did kind of fill in quite a bit, but I don't know, I won't be doing too much of that. I mean, not that it took long. It's like, I don't know, what, like 5 seconds. All right, get it in terms of your shading. I mean, you can do it. You can do it all over the place too. I mean, if you want to go really detailed, like here's some rocks on the road. Here's this moon like this. You can kind of see. You kind of just add that little shadow kind of out this way. It's kind of coming down this way. So I mean, you can do these little types of things. I mean, it'd be easier just to take a Copic marker or something like that and add a little bit of gray down there too, right? You can do that. And that's what I do too, to create extra little textures down in these areas like so. Here's the cobbled path. We were talking about the cobbled path, and I'll just anchor some of these stones down in here a little bit more like this, or you can make the space in between these stones that's defining the stones a little bit darker like that. It just makes them look a little bit more dimensional. Going like that, okay? Vary it a little bit more out to the side. Let's put that little standing figure in a little bit more darkness like that. Okay. We got a little bit of texture in there. I usually want a nice smooth texture, but when we're talking about like kind of this eerie... Oh, I'm out of focus here. There we go. Ah! Oh. Okay. This thing is not finding. Flipping off and on here. I don't know if my camera's getting like hotter or something like this. It feels hotter when I'm touching it right now. Here we go. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Anyway. But see, I kind of get a little bit more of this color, this colored pencil type of texturing in here. I love a lot of people like Gamsol or something like that, and just getting rid of all of your colored pencil marks, like little hatches like this. But I tend to think that one of the benefits of using colored pencils is to utilize, that type of texturing that you can get from it. I mean, I get where you might want, like really super smooth applications of stuff, where you don't want any kind of brush marks from Copic markers and colored pencils or something like that. But I think those things tend to look even more so if you contrast it against some textures, So things with that you want to look smooth would look extra smooth if you have some areas that have that texture in there accordingly. Let's see. Kevin needs to cat stamp something. Oh, like a black cat or something like that would have been cool in here. I don't have anything too like specifically Halloween-ish, I don't have a pumpkin in here. I don't have a witch or anything like that. Yeah. Let's see. A she stamps shack. Interesting conversations. I can't figure out what it is, Kate. It's either the new lens, but the lenses are so expensive on this camera. Everyone hit the like and subscribe. Or click on an ad. You don't have to buy anything. The ad revenue from these videos is probably like, I don't know. I'd be surprised if I get 50 cents for any one of these live streams with the ad revenue. We're a niche, channel here, but it would be good to get, you know, some more viewership. We need to get more people into just scenic stamping in general. I'm not talking about just Stampscape stamps or watching me. Just a lot of people are very intimidated by scenic stamping. Just in general. Like, people didn't used to be because people would be, there were hundreds of stores out there and they were teaching workshops all the time. So it was teaching people, people were getting into whatever they wanted to all the time. Yeah, Scarecrow would be awesome. That'd be a great one, Crystal Fire. We liked this movie a few years ago called "Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark" or something like that. I think it was from a I don't know, graphic novel or something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure, but that was a good movie. But I had a really cool Scarecrow one. All right, so going in, let's see, having um, our little skeleton like this. Casting a little bit of a shadow, okay? I'm not being too particular with it right down here, but I want him to, we want to give him a little bit of a body and mass and opacity too. So if I don't have those shadows in there, they tend to be kind of floating a little bit more. Unless that's what they're doing. They're floating or something like that, or a ghost, which wouldn't be out of the question for this type of scenario here. But okay, going back to what I was saying, I'm adding a little bit more textures here with my colored pencil here like that. Where textures and things like that might look strange is if you just have it in one little area. But when you add it, kind of throughout the piece, it just becomes a common texture or technique that's going through the entire piece. So a lot of people get kind of alarmed, I think, with certain types of touches in, these types of scenarios like this. But it's because, and I'm talking about like the white pigment ink, in terms of fog, if they just add it in one area, it looks really strange because it's just one isolated, very unique texture that's only in one area, nowhere else in a scene. And it just doesn't make sense like that from a visual standpoint. But you add that throughout the piece, and it becomes, just a part of the, overall textural patterning of what's going on in the scene, scenic lighting and all that type of thing. And that's the same thing with anything else. Any other kind of texture that you're adding in, kind of introduced texturing. I mean, if you want to emphasize it, then you kind of leave it as is. But most of the time, we're just trying to incorporate those types of things in there. So you just have to add it around. But a lot of people if they're doing it for the first time, they get shocked. Or, a couple paint pen detail work or something like that, a couple dots like that. And it's like your eye goes straight to those little dots. But when it becomes just kind of overall lighting over, a lot of things within the overall piece, it blends in and it just represents whatever you want it to be representing. Highlighting, fog, stars in the sky, those types of things. So I'm going to be teaching. This class for someone that's going to be helping me out. I'm going to be doing a live stream for this retreat that's like in a year from now or something like that. And I'm going just to be doing it remotely. But I said, hey, the coordinator, I said, it'll be good. We really need someone kind of walking around amongst the participants rather than just having me up on a screen up in the front of the class or something like that. But one of the things is for the beginning class, it's really teaching them what they're going to be encountering and predicting in that class. And the first thing is just the overlapping of all this type of imagery. People are used to doing outline styles of designs and not overlapping everything so that it blends in. They're being careful not to. They're stamping something out, and if they want something behind it, they're masking it off and then stamping it. And that's what a lot of people have been doing, until they get into like scenic stamping or something of that sort. So I'm going to be teaching them kind of the things that they're going to be running into so that when they're kind of out roving about, that's going to be one of the factors there. And then also when they get in, I forgot what I'm bringing this up for, but when it comes to the coloring too, it's just, running universal colors over everything like that and not staying within kind of the perimeter lines of an outline style of design like that. I mean, when people are, when I'm teaching it, I mean, people get used to it like in a couple seconds. But before that, though, it's kind of a weird kind of notion of breaking out of those types of processes, if that's all they've been doing up until then. All right, so anyways, going on this colored pencil like so. I need a little bit more variation around this, huh? Like that. So go, I think I was talking about texturing. Sorry, folks, I blab on too much in these things. It's like, I don't know. I'm losing my course. I'm especially losing my my train of thought today with these big pieces. Because it's like different things are coming to mind, with these larger pieces. There's just so much more area to fill in. So, okay, so I just added a little bit of texturing down there. Okay, that stayed in focus. So like down there, going to that crosshatchy type of look or whatever. Now remember, I mean, some of this is getting a little bit too harsh, but then I'm going to be putting the white pigment ink right over the top of that too. So Stampscapes channel challenge. Whoever stamps the largest piece scene wins, and you can come back on and I guess it's going to be have to be the honor system. Just tell us what the largest piece you did was. So you will have to have like taped up some full size pieces together. Or I guess if someone's stamping out like on we were talking about those Bristol boards or illustration boards. What's the largest pieces? Unless you're next to like a really big art supply place, it's like 30 by 40. I think is typically some of the larger panels that like an art store would have in stock. Like a Michaels would probably have a 30 by 40 illustration board on it. Maybe, I don't know. Did they get that big in like a Michaels or something like that? Okay, let's see. Prismacolor has a colorless blender pencil. Oh, so it's like just clear wax or something like that? Or like a translucent wax? No pigment in it? Would that be it? Scary stories to tell with the lights out. Bears all over Connecticut now with bobcats. I saw my first bobcat, I don't know, a few years ago. I used to go hiking all the time, but I just never saw a bobcat anywhere. But I was out hiking with my son one time not too far from where we live. And oh, there's a bobcat around the corner. I was surprised at how large it was. Herons. Herons are crazy. Gosh, there's so many videos of like herons going around catching things like rabbits and eating them, like big rabbits. Not full size, but man, they're such great hunters. I thought about using a heron in this one. I have this nice big heron, but it would make for a nice, kind of silhouette, dark silhouette. I can make it look kind of spookier, by putting a little, glowing eye in there. But I think just, having that, I might use that in my next scene. I'm not sure what the next scene is going to be though. After this one, I still have plenty of, images that I haven't gone through. I don't want to do too much repetition of the same imagery in each piece. Maybe the next one will be, I don't know, maybe all swamp or something like that. I'm not sure. Well, Candy, show me your mist. That sounded weird. Yeah, you have to build out your mist from the interior lighting into the exterior. The darker it is, you don't go into it quite as far. And that's what makes it look natural. Just in general, you have to start it in the lighter areas. And you always have to retain some of the white of the paper. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. It could be a tiny little bit. But it has to be roughly, like the areas that you're retaining some of that light have to be roughly the same hue or maybe temperature of the pigment ink you're applying. Like I've had some pigment inks that are a little bit more yellowish in tone. So I'm going on a white piece of paper, and that more warmish tinge of pigment ink, it didn't look right. So make sure that it's kind of real similar to that, in terms of that finish. And, that really helps out. But I'll play around with it. I'll show you how to use it in some of these darker areas too, like that. Okay. But remember, again, it doesn't look natural until you utilize, a significant portion of it throughout the scene where that lighting would be maybe present. I don't know. I say that with kind of an asterisk because, it's largely just in other ways, it's kind of just wherever you say, that mist is going to go, that's where it's going to go because we're, the creators of these environments like that. But when you are referencing lighting like that with mist, because that's what mist is supposed to be representing when you're using it in here, it's supposed to be moisture that's suspended in the air that's being illuminated by your light source. So white light, in other words. So it does look strange in some areas until you kind of go into your pieces and you use it in enough of an area where it would kind of, I don't know, make sense as that, that lighting. So in other words, you're adding it in the light areas, the areas that you've retained some of that light. And so that's the first part of the usage of it, for me at least. And again, it's with an asterisk. I've seen people use things in different ways that I haven't used it before, and it's like, oh well, I've been saying kind of, to not do certain things, but then they'll do it in a certain way that it totally makes sense and it looks good that way. So all right, so just rendering this a little bit more. See, I'm rendering this little hillside in back here, making it stand out by kind of going a little bit darker like this. The colored pencil is perfect for that because I can just go in and see. And then here's the slope like this, and that's what that represents. So I've just kind of, I've kind of created this little line here, and I've just kind of toned that in like that. I think these Easter Island statues, they were in some kind of cartoon recently where they were talking, I think. They animated them. Okay, so here's these little fence posts. I'll go a little bit darker like this around them. You can cast in a little bit of a shadow like this. You'd be able to see this other rung in here somewhere, but I don't want I don't want to clutter it, you know, with too much of a shadow down here. I thought about adding in another little piece of a fence over here, like this was kind of an opening, but I had that skeleton here, so it would only be like a small piece. So it wouldn't, I don't know, I could put a little bit of it here, but I thought it would clutter it a little bit. All right, so anyways, there's that black colored pencil in there. So that black colored pencil really took care of a lot of different things in here for me. Let's see, let's go in a little bit more here. I had kind of this big open space in here, so it's good to kind of add something in there. Even if it's just a little bit of a tonal, you know, kind of tonal changes a little bit. You can add something in. If something's missing, you can even add something like really small, like these things, like right here. Just to kind of break it up a little bit. All right. Let's see. Chris, you've done almost 11 by 17. What did you do it on, Chris? What type of paper? It's an all waxy, clear pencil to blend with. That's interesting, Marta. I've never seen those. Well, you know, one of the things, okay, so Chris mentioned this too. The mist is the hardest part for them. I'm convinced that, that when you're doing mist, I mean, we're not doing a subtractive process. We're doing an additive process because we're laying that mist down on the top of it. But it is one of those things where we're adding in light back into dark. Most of the times with most media, and unless we're doing oil painting or something like that, where we're going back in with white paint over the top of things, defining highlights and things like that. But I've mentioned before in my, with my stamp board classes, or just referencing them, I was convinced that doing kind of more subtractive, like removing or adding light back into dark, I was convinced that it was a different hemisphere of the brain. So it's almost like when we're kind of, because you're subduing things, when you're adding a little bit of a translucent layer over the top of something dark, it's subduing it. And then if you keep adding it over the top of it in kind of thicker layers, you're almost eradicating what you have in the background. And I think that's, I don't know, I think that's a different hemisphere of the brain or something like that. So it's almost like you're having to switch. You're not switching from like, right brain to left brain or something like that. But it's, and I'm convinced there's something in there like that where you're having to kind of see almost in reverse. Maybe it's because the muscle memory, when you're doing this type of thing, you're adding, especially if it's dye-based inks, like I said, where things, you can keep getting darker and darker and darker, but it's an additive process over a white piece of paper. And then when you go back and, you're changing gears and going with something light back into it, I do think it's a little bit of a different thing. So, I don't know. Switch, if you're having kind of a, difficulty seeing that part, that switch that brain to, instead of zone 1, switch it to zone 1C, or something like that. I do think there's something to that, though, because it does feel like a subtractive type of experience. That's why I see it as like covering things up. It's subduing things that you would normally not do. As I'm mentioning all this, I'm looking for my other lighting opportunities and shadows right in here. So this right here, let's go a little bit more this way, like this. It wouldn't be casting that deep of a shadow, but I think it looks good there. Okay, so these little branches like down here, I want to anchor them a little bit. When we anchor down these little things like this too, and make it a little bit more, darker like that. It doesn't have to be like so totally dark, but these little areas like this are really where that white pigment ink really looks really good. White pigment ink looks really good where light meets dark, okay? It doesn't mean it has to be like super dark, but just darker. But the darker it is, potentially the more contrast you can create like that. So, I don't know, we're almost here. We're almost there. Let's see. I do feel like my, I don't know, black colored pencil work at least has strengthened, over this last, I don't know, couple days. Just from doing a couple pieces like that. See that, like, kind of defining this guy a little bit more by adding like the shadow work around it like that. Okay, so see that the top of this little, okay. The top of this piece right here can stand out a little bit more by making the area behind it a little bit darker. Or we can, or you can do it, this one could be, the top of this little post right here could be kind of light in front of dark, but then you can also do this one right here where it's dark in front of light like that. So see, you're kind of like doing that thing. It's not checkerboarding, but it's just kind of oscillating that type of thing that you have going in there. I want these things to stand out a little bit more. So you're just kind of playing contrasts against one another. And it doesn't matter which way you went. Like I said, I could have done it, either way, just to get these things standing out a little bit more. So that one's kind of the reverse with the darker behind. These ones are more positive with dark over light, And again, when you look at the overall thing, how important is that? Maybe not too much, but, if someone goes around and kind of looks at it kind of in a more detailed way, I don't know, maybe it reads a little bit, maybe on I don't know, it could even be like on a subconscious level or something like that. Unless someone's like an artist or something like that, then they, they're analyzing things or whatever. But I don't think, most of the people aren't going to be doing that. Most people aren't going to be doing that because we're not going to be giving away our, 10 by 16 scenes, Maybe not as readily as we will our, standard card sizes, right? Or maybe you maybe hold these a little bit longer. Okay, so see, here's this little person right here too. So she's kind of like, basking in the moonlight or whatever. It's a statue, but... So I'm just going to make this area behind them a little bit darker, or, however dark you want, like that. Okay. So that figure kind of stands out more forward like that, okay? So again, it's just playing contrast against one another, like that, like so. All right? Okay. Oh, before I get to the white pigmenting, what time is it? 6:30. I might be finishing this off in, what part is this? Is it, this part's like 15? I might be finishing this one off in 16. We're going to add in these types of things first. I added a little bit of this on my previous one. Froggy Fresh wants a pizza. I ate a pizza yesterday. And you had a burnt hamburger. I burnt my pizza. No, wait. Yeah, it was yesterday. We had a pizza in the freezer for ages. And it's like, I've been saying, we need to get rid of that thing. I usually make my own pizzas, but I had a bunch of pizzas, when my friend had his, my son had his friends over a lot back in the pre-COVID lockdown days. And then, the play dates ended in that span of time, because they're in high school. But I had a bunch of these pizzas, so I ate like this, I don't know, it's probably a 2.5-year-old frozen pizza to get rid of it, and I burnt it. it's probably because there was no moisture in it left at all. Okay, let's see. Bugs, this is, it's a semi-gloss. Yeah, it's not glossy. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to use the colored pencil on there. We wouldn't be able to use the VersaFine Clair on there if it was glossy. So this one's a semi-gloss. 2:30, Donna. Donna, you are going to make it to 4:30. I'm just joking. Okay, so let's see here. Marta, you are on, yeah. Okay, so I'm adding in, let's see if I can get a little bit closer. It's going to go out of focus. I'll go, maybe if I ask it nice. Okay, I think that's as far as I can go. Okay, so again, this is like a totally foreign type of texture. I am adding it in to the areas. I'll put it a little bit where you can see it, okay, but I'm largely putting this into some very light gray-ish areas. Boy, that bluish tinge really still stands out, doesn't it? Okay, so this is just some extra texturing in here. It's acting as very subtle, and this is a really large 3mm acrylic paint pen, okay? See that like that? But this will kind of, I don't know, it adds a little bit of extra texturing, but if I just used it over there, it just wouldn't make sense. So you have to kind of use it where, you know, that lighting would be, or that lighting on that certain texture, in this case a road or whatever, would be representative of that type of light reflecting off that surface. Okay, so that being said, let's add it up in these lighter areas. I'm just adding it wherever I've added or retained light, and then I'm transitioning it a little bit into the surrounding area. It looks kind of weird, but again, I have that other texture of the mist to put over it, okay? So you add it heavy. This is the same type of thing. You add like the mist heavier in the lighter areas like that, and then in the surrounding area, you kind of dissipate it, you know? So when I go into these areas with mist, it'll be heavier right here, and then I'll kind of creep it out into these darker areas like this. And the darker it is, I do less of that transitioning into those areas because it represents shadows. There won't be, you know, a shaded area. I'm saying, you know, if it's really dark in there, there's no light getting in there. So I wouldn't have this illuminated mist in there in theory, you know, but again, that's kind of just, kind of referencing the lighting within the scene. But I know I do say that, you know, this, you know, you can create this more of like a stage where you have additional lights. But I do reference kind of, you know, whatever, if it's called reality or whatever, if we can call it that at all. But I reference it loosely, and then, you know, we break the rules in other ways. So this right here, I have this texturing coming in this way. It's a little bit of a visual path leading up into that. Here's this little figure down here. There's a little bit of that moonlight shining on this terrain. It just kind of gives it a little bit more of a shimmery type of light, and again, it's just a different texture. What was the temperature for you today, Jeannie? You're out of those 90s now, aren't you? Okay, I don't think I'm going to add any in here. I added a lot of tone throughout that. It looked kind of strange. It would, you know, there'd be too much contrast up there. But I think I can add a little bit in here around these two little figures, kind of, you know, doing their victory sign, or it's either that or running for their life, whatever you want it to be. I'll put a little on my moon here. I think my son was saying that there's some new camera out there on some phone that it can zoom in so far that you can see the textures on the moon with that, you know, camera phone. I forgot which one it was. All right, sorry folks, I can't like zoom in far enough on this. Where you can really see what's going on a little bit more. But there's not a whole lot going on. Okay, I'm keeping this largely where there's not a lot of contrast. Because I have my smaller 0.7 millimeter, that's going to be better for like highly detailed areas. This is just kind of giving me a little bit of extra kind of texturing, and it's kind of creating a little bit more of a visual path, in the the walking areas or whatever you call it. If this is a map or a game board or whatever. Yeah, maybe I will put a little of this on these stones in here. I'm putting my hand right into that stuff that I just added in here, but I don't know, I think this dries pretty fast. And again, it's on, more of the matte style of cardstock here. Okay, so this is on the semi-gloss. It's the Everyday Digital White Coated Silk, if I didn't mention it, or if someone didn't mention that for them. Okay, kind of creating a little bit of a shimmery type of thing. When you put it on like little clusters of leaves or ground like that, it looks like, I don't know, like dew or something like that, I think. If we did, oh my gosh, I got to do this one of these days. But where'd my snails go? I don't know. I have a snail around here somewhere. But wouldn't it be cool to do one of those snails kind of crawling along something, and to do that Wink of Stella trail? You can have that trail going. Oh, you can do anything. You can have a Wink of Stella trail going. I don't know. A snail could be doing. You can do a heart or something like that, or a word or something like that, or going from a snail. You can have a snail crawling up here across the scene with that Wink of Stella. Everyone know what I'm talking about with the Wink of Stella. It's that, those pens with that kind of iridescent or kind of glittery type of thing. You can have a trail going through a scene like that. So I don't know. Someone could do that in a scene. I don't want all of time for that. I'll forget if I, by the time I do another one of these pieces here. But anyways, okay, so let's see. I don't know if you could see it in there, but there's these textures kind of running through all of my kind of illuminated areas like that, okay? And I think I need to get to this one first. It's better if you lay down this. It's better if kind of the white pigment ink mist type of thing comes last, because if you lay that down on here and then if you go over it with these acrylic paint pens or gel pens, a lot of times it goes up into the ball of the the tip here, where you have to keep scribbling it off, so it's kind of a hassle to do that. 97 in Boise today. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It is crazy these days with the temperatures. I was watching a video on like the Rhine River, and stuff like that, like drying out, and, transport ships being able to take like only 50% of what they would normally do. Everything's like drying out everywhere. Okay, who doesn't get excited over snail slime, That's what I want to ask. Can you imagine that snail slime? Do it in a blue scene or something like that. It might stand out more like on some like a Star Dream lapis lazuli or something like that. Wouldn't that be cool, Chris? Yeah, snail slime. I think that's what they should call that one Wink of Stella color, snail slime. Wouldn't that be a great marketing kind of gimmick for everyone? We all stamp out those snail cards all the time, right? Thanks, Paper Genius. Good to see you. Okay, we're just talking about snail slime here, Paper Genius. We cover all of our bases, and everything. Here, I forgot to do something right here. You guys didn't remind me here. This tree right here didn't get that shading here. I'm just joking. You didn't have to remind me, but here, I'm going on the other side of that tree, like so. Let's see. Let me see if I can get a little bit darker with using this one too here. Oh, that's better with that tree, huh? Now let's see on these ones too. We'll go with some right side shading. Oh yeah. I needed to kind of make this one a little bit more opaque where that creature would, that deer is big enough to be coming out of here, but I'll just leave it like that. Let's make this a little bit more, let's leave this a little bit darker back here too. Okay, so this pen right here will be for like details and like demon eyes, Let's see. Oh, look at that. Let me see if I can zoom in slightly. Just a cute little deer now, like spooky, spooky stuff. Okay, I was going to do that on these guys too. Now these guys, I don't know if this is going to show up enough because I didn't make them very dark. I do need to make them a lot darker. But that, I don't know. Maybe I'll make them a little bit darker down here, but I don't know, trust me, there's glowing eyes down there if you were to be able to see it kind of zoomed in. But it works right back there. That's how I kind of made those areas a little bit darker. This area in here can get a little bit darker too, maybe, to be more effective, huh? Okay, so Moonlight. I love doing stuff with this. Extra fine paint pen to add in some highlights. The highlights are already kind of on my fencing, so I'm just going and reiterating it with this, okay? So see, I'm adding a few more highlights in the lit area, but see, this is all in shadow, so I've added like a couple little dots. I don't know if you can see that there. You know what I mean? You could put little things like that on there if you want to. And, I mean, yeah, these trees will be blocking out some of that, highlighting on there, but who cares, As long as it kind of looks more dimensional and cool, then so be it. If you add something like that on there like that, you can just kind of wipe it off like so, okay? And just, it doesn't set up so fast. So these rungs on that fence post like that. I use it, it's kind of a combination of little lines, and dots. If it's in an area, just in general, it's kind of against a light area like that. If I'm adding a lighting like that, then I go with a line. But if it's something that's I'm highlighting something that's against an area that's really dark, then I might put just a couple dots down there. Okay, but I don't know if you can see that right there. There's a couple highlights alongside of that. There's all this type of stuff can look kind of strange too, until, like I said, until you add those common textures around on the the entire scene, where it would call for that, like on objects like this in the background. So if you have it on, this area down here, then it would stand to reason that there'd be highlights on these types of objects in the distance. So you put it on those types of things as well. But until you start doing that and introduce this kind of, little mark as this universal sign of lighting or highlighting or whatever you want to call it, it stands out kind of strange, and maybe kind of unrelated or obtrusive, I don't know, maybe you can call it. But something like this. So it's just kind of pulling out little highlights like that out of the distance. Or it might just be like you're just pulling something out from the background too, where it just kind of merges a little bit, without the line. But again, like I said, the line kind of stands out, kind of looking weird until, you kind of introduce it, in different areas. So right in here, this little figure, let me see, I'll try to get as close as I can with that one. See, I mean, I didn't really take a, real careful time to color it perfectly. So, I got a lot of tone in there. So I can kind of just redefine it with some of this white paint here in a much more detailed fashion, right? Because it's a detailed tool. Okay, let's go like that. Sometimes I'm pretty tentative with this, but then I'll watch someone, I don't know, and they're much more liberal with it, doing marks and things like that. And it's like, oh, that looks really good. I need to do that. Where it's like I'm being a little more tentative using little dots, but I'm starting to use more. I mean, I've done it before where I've used lines, but maybe it's not as much as I'm doing these days. But like in these reeds down here, we have these, dark reeds. I might come into it and add in some, additional light ones like this, here and there. Like right in here. That one's a little bit too light. Tone it down a little bit like that. You can get a pretty, light mark on this too. What I'm doing is I'm just barely touching it down on the paper like that too. Okay. And I'm just kind of doing this little check mark type of thing. So you get that, little things like that. I don't know, I'll add it right down here in this darker area so you can kind of see it. But see, this little area right in here gets a little cluttered, where it's like there's no definition. So you just coming in like this, and you just add like those little marks like this. I'm trying to get a real long one here, but I mean, but that little type of thing like that down there. See, it looks a little bit more dimensional like that. Or see, this is all just dark right here. So if you want to break that up a little bit, and see, my mark is easier going like that. So that's why I'm flipping this upside down like this, so I can get that check mark like that. All right, so see that, those little areas like that in there. I mean, ideally I'd go a little bit higher, but I don't know, I wasn't able to drag it very high. Okay, so see this grass right in here? It's against something lighter. This one gets darker in here, so, I can add in like that a little bit, and something like that. I don't know. It looks a little bit more maybe gestural down here too or something. I don't want to add too much of it, because it's supposed to be kind of this darker framing device. And if you add in too much of it, one of the things you can do is you can add darker reeds, again, right over the top of it so it goes dark. Then you have some lighter ones and you have some darker ones in front, too. something like that. So so it's in areas like this too. Okay, it gets a little bit muddled. Okay, I'm getting the pen. The pen's working for me a little bit more the more I use it like that. So see, that's like that. It's just like some of those reeds are catching some of those highlights. So you don't have just this murky, dark, area. I mean, it's still dark enough, but there's a little bit more definition in there like that. Um, and you can put it on your overhanging things coming down to, this can be catching some of the moonlight from above. Definition of skulls. Skull, it works perfect for skull definition. So we need some a new class, apparently two new classes. It'll be class Stampscapes 5 will be snail slime, utilization of snail slime scenes. How to use your Wink of Stella to create dynamic, snail trails in your pieces. how to improve your snail game, and skull definition. Okay, so let's see. I'm sure I'm missing some things. Here's one of the things in here. When I'm doing a quarter page scene, I know where to add this stuff, but there's like whole big areas that I would normally use this on that I'm not even thinking of just because this thing is so big. And I don't know if it's like if I don't use it like here on like a column like this, it's like it doesn't even occur to me because there's so much information going on in the scene anyway. It's like, who misses it? I don't. Like I would have like little like lighting coming from back in here on this little meadow, you know, and kind of coming through underneath this fence maybe or something like that. But on something like this, I don't know if it really even matters. So you see this lighting coming through here, so like that. I have this little area lit like that, and So what I'm saying is, there's some of these things that I'm not even really even considering. I tend to think that's good, though, where it might be like an integral part of the whole lighting kind of scenario in here, but on this one right here, where you have so much stuff going on, maybe it doesn't matter. There's enough of it going on or emphasized in one little area that you can just leave other areas just as is. So, is this Halloween scene? I guess so. But yeah, in terms of um, whatever it represents, if it represents something like an amusement park kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's all done in the spirit of, this time of season, though. Monsters and ghouls like that. I don't know. For some of us, though, maybe, hey, monsters and ghouls and stuff, there's no season for it. It's like year round for them. Or it's supposed to be meant like a game board, for kids to play on or something like that. Not that there's a game that but it's supposed to be look like that type of thing. Okay, I think I'm almost done with this pen. This pen was like working really well for me. It's like coming out too fluid here. Here, so you have your your eraser, your gel, your paint pen eraser right there. Okay, let me see. There was a question on there. Oh, white pens. Okay, Paper Genius. I'm using a 0.7 millimeter acrylic paint pen. Stampscape Snail Slime 101. Fun with snail slime. Get your snail on. The class you've all been waiting for. But yeah, these pens like this is the Artistro one. The other one that I used to use, the brand that I used to use all the time. Oh, here's my other Artistro one. I think I put it in there because one of them was flowing and one of them wasn't so much. But the Meowsen pens, the Artistros, and just about every other 0.7 millimeter acrylic paint pen to me, I have a feeling they're all coming out of the same factory in China is where they're made, okay? So they just have different barrels. This one's a translucent one, so you can see the paint inside. The Meowsen ones were opaque. They all have the same construction, tip, cap, everything. The plastic molding is the same, so I think it's coming out of the same type of thing. So the those really aren't headstones. They're just the Greco-Roman elements, and I make those. They're in the Greco-Roman design. So just like this, nice Roman kind of, whatever, scenario or something like that, or gardening, put them in here at angles, tombstones, you know what I mean? There's not really room to write someone's name on there or something like that, but yeah, you could, like this one right here, you could put a little name on there or something like that. I'll put like a, KNRIP on that one. Yeah, I should put my own name on there or something like that. I have all these hidden little kind of things in these Roman pieces too. I don't know if I did it on these ones, but sometimes in the like little textures or something like that, I'd put my little like initial or something like that in there. It's like I find a Waldo thing within those things. People would never see. It's not obvious enough where anyone would ever see it, and if you know it's there, it's probably kind of difficult to see too. But some of them are a little bit more obvious than others. Those Greco-Roman designs like that, when I was working on them, it took so long to do. I had to have something kind of, at the end just to kind of, break up the monotony of it. So I hid all kinds of little notations in there. It might have been the initials of my old boss. I had a stamp in the hand and stuff like that too, I think. All within kind of the, the patterns of the marble. I'm joking about a lot of things. I'm not joking about that. They're in there. I haven't looked at it in a while, so. Okay, so anyway, on this something like this too, we should do some little fireflies kind of flying around in here. Okay, now I'm not going to, with like different colors, like with a green firefly or something like that, but why not do it with, I'll do it with the white ones. Actually, I need to go back and do it with the other piece too, and think about that. But these little firefly things, like in areas like this where you have these like large areas of kind of monotonous, just kind of darkness like that, having a little element of this little flying, little illuminated bug, is really fun. So I'll just add those types of things in here now. So, and then you come into it with your white pigment ink, and you just make some of these things glow, and it really kind of breaks up these areas really nicely with a really great texture. So you just say, they're little, I don't know, forest nymphs, or something like that, or they can be, they could represent fireflies. If it's a firefly, people that live near fireflies kind of told me that, oh, you need to add a little bit of greenish tinge to it. So what I do is I add it in with the white, and then I dab in a little bit of that pigment ink around it so that they're glowing, and then I add the green on top of it. If I add the green down and I add the pigment ink on top of it, it kind of eradicates the grain and you can't see it, so you add that grain right over. So it's like a 3-part firefly process. So sometimes when talking about these different techniques, when I'm not joking around, it just seems, I don't know. It sounds, I don't know, it sounds kind of, I don't know, kind of bizarre. The three-part, firefly process in stamping. Okay, so yeah, so like right around in here, see, this kind of gets a little boring, right? So we'll add in these little things kind of hovering around in here. I've often mentioned how white pigment ink can really kind of save the day, and that's just kind of adding in that mist or something like that. But on objects like this, just going in here. See, otherwise this column is just kind of uniform, but if I put a little couple things like that kind of flying around like that, you can make some a little bit bigger. Would there be fireflies on Easter Island? Probably not, but this is your world, so why not add it in there? Like I said, they could just be little magical types of spirits or something like that too, going through here. But anyways, I think we're set up for our final piece like that. Let's see. Okay, oh, so anyways, going back to that pen, one of the things that, let's see, I don't think Janet was on today, but she told me, I was using just white pens, and I was typically buying the gold and silver pens, but someone told me about these. They said, oh, you can get those paint pens in sets now, Kevin. I was like, what? So if I'm doing like blue scenes, I can add in like a lot of different values of blue, sunsets or something like that. I can add in all of these other colors, and plus there's the gold, silver, bronze, and all that type of stuff. But I just hadn't had access. I don't really use these darker ones in here, but it's these pastel ones that I utilize a lot when I'm doing colored pieces, and I would add in that, but like that one right there would be a perfect one for fireflies, right? Something, kind of green glowing type of thing. Or if I was doing colored pieces, if I'm not matching up scenes, I mean, I would do like these eyes right here. If I wasn't doing grayscale, I'd probably do it in like that greenish glow or something like that. I think that would look a little bit even more ominous. Or you can do it in red, right? Something like that. So, I don't know. Fun stuff. Fun options for us. Cat slime. Okay, let's see. Oh, Debbie took off. I'm just scrolling down right here. I didn't realize they took off. Tammy bought some paint pens, used them to make invitations for a wedding party. Awesome. I find the paint pens are of a much, much higher quality. And same thing with the gel pens these days too. But the paint pens for me are just a really good quality in terms of them not jamming up. I'm going to finish this off in another video here, but we're almost there. I just need to bring in those different misty kind of finishes on here, but I think we're set up pretty well. This piece right now, to me, maybe not. I might need to go a little bit darker in here. Let's see the last piece. Maybe it's okay. But here's the last piece. Okay. No, I guess it's about the same kind of. It's about the same kind of finish. Now, see, can you see the difference between these two? Okay, just in terms of the textural variations right here, doesn't this look different in a way than this one. Just look at in terms of the like the finish quality. See like that? See that glowing kind of light like that? And some of you might be saying, "Hey, I like this one better," you know. And I think, I don't know, now I like that too. But see like this transition of lighting right here or right here. It looks like it's like that moon looks really luminous to me, and that's just with the use of white pigment ink right around in here. You can see it right here, here, at the base of those running kids. Okay. And like right here, that little creature like that. Here's the creature down here without it. Okay. But see those clouds up there? Don't those clouds look so much more refined? Maybe, okay, up here I covered a lot of them up too, but just that lighting in here. See like that? I'm getting a lot of glare here, but see there's no, you know, I would put a little bit of like mist or something like that at the base of these, you know, running kids' feet, you know, kind of going off in this direction right here. It would look more like fog or something like that. And see like this down here, you know, right around in here, kind of playing around. It's like kind of, I don't know, you're mentioning a cat up there, but that's what I see this. I see this kind of fog is like, it's almost like a living thing that can envelop or kind of dance around like different objects like this. So you can have this kind of mist that's kind of in front of some of these and coming around and through other ones. So I see it like this serpentine thing running through things like that, or running through the scene, you know. And I just think it kind of brings some areas to life a little bit more. Texturally, lighting wise, but also just, I don't know, maybe the playfulness of that light, you know. It's like a dimensional light because you can have it in front of things. It's not just illuminating something from the back or the front or whatever. It's, you can have it now kind of running throughout objects and in portions of areas like that. Like I think she would look cool, really cool amongst a little bit of this, you know, just something, it doesn't, nothing large, but just this little bit of glow coming off of her, or behind her, or around her, or something like that. But yeah, from tonally, I thought this one got a little bit darker, but I guess it isn't. It seems to be roughly, you know, things. So same, similar. Oh, look at this right here. This one here is much lighter in terms of the darkest of areas. I might have to go in and, I'm not going to do this in a video, but and torture you from watching that, but I might go back in here and darken up some of these shadows in here, because it does look like I got darker. Well, I don't know. That one, that side looks pretty close though, doesn't it? This one's slightly lighter, like that. Like that. You can almost match these up like this, huh? Like that. Not quite, but But from tonal, you can see these little glowing areas like that that don't exist in here from that pigment ink type of thing. So, yeah, stay tuned for part 4. I'm not going to add in the wink of Stella on this one, Chris. It would be interesting, though. That wink of Stella would be awesome around that guy. Yeah, but all those little things like that, unless I did it on all of them. Or, you know, like that snail one. I gotta do that snail piece. Chris, do a snail piece for us on that wink of Stella. Firefly slime next, yeah. Is that part of your Lime Stamps or another company? Sorry, Paper Genius, I wasn't quite sure what you were referring to when you posted that one, that question. Let's see. Yeah, those people kind of walking through there are fun. I don't know. Were you referring to these two people right here, Linda? So I figured they can represent kind of the entry point and exit point, you know, of all pieces, and then I'll have them kind of a little bit more on this right side, I think, for this one. So this one's going to go. This one's I can't get these all displayed in one thing for you guys, but You know, this could be, it's either supposed to be like, I want these to be, you know, viewed like they could be a triptych. I don't know if it would be stacked on top, you know, or something like, or side by side, or this could be like an interior spread where someone reads like this, and this would be the other page, like, you know, the next spread, you know, in a book or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. But all right, so stay tuned for part 4. I'll probably do that tomorrow, I'm guessing, or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it should take too long. I could do it now, but I got to get dinner ready for the family here. You know, if it wasn't a school night or something like that where my kid was going to sleep at like 1, then no big deal. But yeah, he's got to get to bed earlier. All right. Okay, so anyways, let's see. PJB, thanks for joining in. Have a great couch time. Everyone else, have a great rest of evening. If some of you are getting up or something like that or whatever in other parts of the world, good morning, good afternoon. Can you use Dr. Martens to remove a head? I don't see why not, huh? Yeah, you could. The Dr. Martens, you know, I mean, as long as it's kind of light behind it, but then I guess if you removed it, you know, it's like using white out, you know, and then if you had to kind of blend in some areas, then you have use of your colored pencil or something like that to do. Or you can stamp something. One of the things about the Dr. Martens is you can stamp right over it. It kind of creates kind of a real matte, chalkish style of surface there to do that. So, yeah. So why not, Jeannie? You're the master at, you know, Dr. Martens. If you can do, and if you can do Dr. Martens with anything, you can, right? All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Barbara, for joining in. Thanks, Chris. Good to see everyone. Froggy Fresh. If anyone else that's on, if you're still on, thanks for joining in and checking out this part. What was it? Was it part 3, right, of this video? Hey, look at this. This looks like it's even better with this little shade casting down at the top like that. Let me see. That looks better, like darker like that, huh? I have this piece right up here. It looks better, kind of darker. I might have to darken in a little bit more up there. I think that looks pretty good. But yeah. Okay, so can't wait to kind of render in some of these images and whatnot and to finish this piece off. So good night, everyone. Thanks for joining in. And hopefully we'll see you on part 4 of this piece and, you know, wrapping up this second monster map. Ghoulish game board, whatever it is. All right, good night.